Good morning, friends. My name is Vishwas I, along with my partner Juhi, are going to talk about Unit 3 for writing and print media. The presentation is made by both of us. And well, I wish to tell you, Juhi had also created a video for that, but somehow we were not able to edit and upload that video and combine it together along with our presentation today. So the topics that we have covered here will be how to write hard news and soft news, learning essential elements of headlines and introductions, and understanding different writings for newspaper. The while we are talking about the introduction, we must remember that news media has is considered to be the most reliable and authentic media. Something that has been printed in a news media is considered the reality or the fact, and people watch for that. And it is the most reliable and most effective way to communicate with a complete large population in a different category. So it's not only a newspaper, but it will also include magazine and all other types of material. We will focus our discussion today with about newspaper and the magazine. So in any type of print media, effective writing becomes very important. We have learned how to write effectively, but this is the time that we apply our learning into the actual writing for print media. As we understand, the main purpose of writing for a print media is to convey information and give reader a deeper understanding about a particular subject matter. While we are doing so, let us understand what are the different types of uh, uh, media writing and that media that we are talking about. Sorry about this. I need to connect power. So, types of different writing are we are writing for the magazine, and when while writing for the newspaper, there are articles, there are editorials, there are features, and most important part is all this will have introductions and attractive headlines. Let us begin with writing for a newspaper. While we are writing for a newspaper, we focus on important information that is there. So the hard news and the soft news are two types of news that we discuss about. And this hard news will give you a complete information about important events which has greater political, cultural, social, or economic values. And those are interest to the common people at large. So that is an important aspect of hard news. Hard news always looks for facts, and there is no opportunity for opinionate give our biases in the whole hard news. And it is advised by people that okay, we collect that information ourselves. I mean, if we are depending on a source, we must be careful to record every aspect of that information from that source. Whatever the quote people are talking about, that must be recorded, so that in case of any situation, we should be able to reproduce those. So, while writing the hard news, there are typical formats, what that is called as 5 Ws and 1 H. This is a rule that is applied, and that generally covers who, what, why. So, when we talk about who, what, why, this is it is subject that we are going to deal with it, an event that we are going to cover about it, the reason and motive about the subject, time of the event, place of the event, how did that event occur. So while writing this information in 5 Ws and 1 H, an inverted pyramid structure is applied, and important aspect of that hard news becomes it should be very accurate information. It should be brief as much as possible because newspaper have limited space, and in front page or in inside pages also we want to give maximum information covering complete geography that the newsprint is targeting about. It should be clear, and it should be, connect with the common person in their easy to understand language. So while these stories are there, a discriminatory angle of the writer about anybody should not be there, and there is no possibility of passing some judgment about an event or an activity from their side. So when we speak about inverted pyramid, so the most important information which is gathered when we talk about five W's and one H comes at the top. Uh, the subject, the time, the event, location, and things like that will come there. It will be followed by important details, and at the last we give the background information. This is the structure followed for the hard news. The soft news is another aspect of it, which has it is a news, of course, but it is put in an entertaining manner, and it all necessary information is given, but we try and bring a particular angle to that story, it's a humanitarian angle, and that angle is decided by the author based on what readers that he's targeting to. So soft stories are mostly information about entertainment and lifestyles that covers if we are bringing some humanitarian angle that is important here. Now, structure of a soft story when we talk about is inviting headlines. Those are important. We will talk about headlines in detail sometime later. Introduction becomes very important. When we have powerful few initial sentences, readers is engaged into the story, and the detail of the stories that will come after the introduction in third and fourth paragraph, and there has to be a message at the end. Soft stories will have message that is to be communicated to the reader. So this will also engage the reader, and he will read till the end of that. Now we will talk about the feature writing. Features are basically longer news stories. And when we are talking about longer news stories, as we say, there are some conclusions are communicated at the end of the stories. It will have, of course, the introduction, a body that will cover the details about it based on the information that is collected, the reflection of that reporter, whoever is writing about that story, he will decide how to put that information in an engaging manner, and of course, this again will have no scope for imagination, and your biases to be included in the whole aspect. So now, next comes is the what are the different types of features. When we talk about informative features, normally it deals with various stories that a reporter or a newspaper wishes to give its reader information about a particular thing. Say ISRO launching various satellites, and one of the purposes it could be an agriculture automation that is being talked about, or it could be the agriculture farmers agitation that is being dealt with. What are those different laws that are covered? The human interest features will have different stories about typical human interest that newspaper and news magazine things targeting their crowd. Historical features will have information about and dynasty, about a historical place. Remember that we must stick to the facts. The historical feature will have a complete, importance to the facts that is there. There are other features also. There are satirical features, as the name explains. Those features will cover that. How to features will deal with how to do certain things, how to handle a technical aspect, how to live happily, kind of a thing. And the seasonal and theme features will also based on a particular event or it's an Olympic, or it's some game thing, or it's an Durga Puja or specific event. People write stories about theme-based features during that time. When we are writing an article, it is important that we find some motivation so that you are also enthusiastic about writing a story, and the interest and enthusiasm is reflected into the story. When we think about a reader, and the target audience that we are considering. So this will also add more space for us to find out or carry out more research on that particular topic, so that the need of the reader is covered into that. While considering titles, we must write or think about multiple titles, write at least three, four titles, and consider the best option about that. The style and structure is adaptive based on the publication and the reader. But the most important thing is articles offer solution of the problem that is being discussed at the end. Without the solution that is being suggested at the end, the article becomes open-ended. So the editorial is again a most important aspect of a newspaper. It mostly conveys views of that newspaper, the approach, that what they really want to explain or persuade or convince their audience about in a stimulating and offering insight and entertaining manner. It is said to be a journalistic essay, and it will, of course, have introduction, a body, and a conclusion. Editorial people have a subject-wise specialist in the editorial board. Somebody will cover the economic affairs, somebody will cover external foreign affairs, or political issues, or health issues, or agriculture aspects of it, and those editorial aspects are covered based on the team that is writing the editorial. So the classification of editorials are based on various aspects of it. It could be a purpose, it could be a composition, the content, or geographic relevance that we are trying to cover in that particular editorial. So now we are coming to writing about very good headlines. It is normally observed that 60% of the reader, they first take a glance only at the headlines, and if headlines are catchy, engaging, attractive, stimulating the reader's interest, then they go about the article. At least they will go to the introduction part of it, and so therefore the good headline needs to be very accurate, that will reflect a representation of the story that is being told about, and it needs to be very specific, highlighting the incidents, and needs to be concise, because normally it is put in a very bold font, and needs to there is no space in a newspaper to cover a very long headline. So, about when the reader is engaged in the headline and starts reading introduction. So, what are the important aspects of the introduction? So, this covers the most important part of the story, and although it follows 5H and 1W, the introduction should cover only the what part of it. All detail aspects will cover into further story body of further two, three paragraphs that we are going to cover in that particular story. And the typical formula that is recommended for introduction is 220. So that's two lines and maximum 18 to 20 words per line. So it is always advisable if normally quotes are not given in the headlines or intros. Sorry, but in case you want to give quotes, that should be offered in indirect speech. And to write intros, if we put active voice, the intro becomes shorter. So to summarize, it should be straight, simple, attention grabber, compelling to the read, further detailed story. Introduction should be correct in grammar and content contain relevant information. So while after we talk about introduction, let us discuss about now the last part of our presentation, which is writing for magazines. And the most important part here is when we are writing for magazines, it is for a specialized reader which is interested in getting more details that are not available or not possible to give in a newspaper. So these are mostly the well-researched articles or stories. Those are covered. So because the periodicity is longer, it's not daily time pressure. So these are well-researched stories. So naturally, it offers flexibility of style to the author. He need not stick to the five W's and one H. Uh, Facts are offered, analytical information is offered, the stories have all equal importance. There is no constraint on which should, like a newspaper, the front page space that needs to be occupied by certain stories. And when we are giving and more in-depth treatment to a particular story, so that will have more impact of that story for the reader. So there are different types of writings in magazine, which will have extended feature stories, article on personalities. It will have a lot of analytical and interpretive information for reader to benefit from the what are those impacts of say budget in his life. It will also be covered travel log. So we have broadly covered the most important part of that. If you have any questions about it, we'll be happy to answer it. Thank you for your patient listening.